All right, so hello. Quick review of today's trading. It was profitable, not perhaps as profitable as it could have been, but it was still profitable. So first of all, the market dumped off the open. So this level around here that we were looking to potentially hold, this confluence between yesterday's value area high and the overnight value area low, was broken immediately off the open. So then that brought the overnight range low into play down here. And we said this morning that we'd be long bias unless the market broke below this previous day close. And there was a real battle going on here at the previous day close. The market trying to decide where it wanted to go. I took a long position here at 8.16, which I ended up closing for break even, which was the right decision because it's the sort of trade where you want the market to go in your favor pretty much immediately. But it didn't. It was just bouncing around. I ended up taking profit around break even about sort of 8-9 minutes later. The market then moved up and rejected this overnight value area low. So this area here that we again said in the pre-market would act as support, it turned into resistance. So it broke off the open and then came back to test, and then what was overnight support turned into resistance in this morning's session. We then continued to bounce around for a while, and I was very, very close to just calling it. But then we actually got this breakout. So at 9:06, we got this clear breakout candle, and then we continued down. And then we ended up getting quite a nice breakout retest trade, which we took and was quite good. So we came down to the lows here, and then we came back up, and it's this area here which I'm gonna mark out on the chart. One moment, just need to find it. There it is. Here. So we broke out, and then what we were waiting for is a retest of this level. And as soon as we came into this level, we got this clear red candle. So I shorted here at 9.25 with a target at the lows of the session. Took a little while to get going. Got a little bit nervous for a moment. My stop loss was back above the previous day close. And then I was able to take profit down here. It unfortunately wasn't a very big profit because my stop loss, I could have put my stop loss above this 1 minute candle, but I decided to keep it above the previous day close, as the market could easily have ended up coming a little bit higher before eventually falling, which I think was the right decision. It was just one of those things where there wasn't a whole load of risk reward offered to me, but that's fine. We followed the rules and we took a good trade. And then that was that today. That was that. After that, the market did continue lower, but it took a while. So it was a separate trade to the one that we took. It's not like I regret not holding it for longer. Then the markets, I've only just come on recently, so I've only just seen this. The markets then rallied back up to that initial breakout point and has rejected, and for at least the moment has started to push back lower again. So it's our first. So at the moment, it's a negative session, although we could always recover this afternoon. But yes, the first negative EU session of the year. Back towards the end of last year, sort of October, November, especially, I was super profitable. And then December came around and liquidity, dropped, I think quite significantly, which is fairly typical, I've been told, of Christmas, although it was my first ever December trading month. Liquidity dropped quite a lot, and a lot of these breakout retest trades that were so effective for sort of 2 to 3 months became there was a lot of fake outs in December, and I started to doubt, I suppose, this strategy. So then I've started looking into other stuff, like the volume profile, especially, which has been really insightful and really useful. But it's also added sort of a bit of confusion to the mix, because every extra indicator or variable I give myself, it's an extra decision to make, and every new decision you have to make is a potential mistake that you can make. And I think back in the autumn last year, when my trading was at its most profitable, partly it's because the market was working with me, but it was also because my system was incredibly simple, and that's what I did this morning. It was incredibly simple. Oh, I'll be back in a moment. Sorry about that. Someone at the door. So, yeah, as I was saying, it was really simple. And I don't want to bin the volume profile and all the stuff that I've learned in the last month, because it's really useful. Because as we saw this morning, we marked out some really important levels of support and resistance, which the market responded to, and that gave us more insight. That gave us much more insight into what was going on than just purely using price action. But I think for the most part, I want to just reduce my variables as much as possible, and get as close to how I was trading back in the autumn as possible, because it was the most profitable. It's simple, and hopefully my use of the volume profile will now help me see when the liquidity drops, because if we're trading within that overnight value area, which is, you can see here on the 15-minute, if we're trading within this, then there are not going to be any breakout retest trades. And that's what happened to me in December, or mid-December, is we were trading a lot within this area, not really going anywhere, but I was still trying to take the breakout retest trades that I'd been taking previously. But I think once it's clear that the market is moving and there is volatility and we are outside of this value area, it then can just become purely price action again, purely very simple breakout retest trades, because they are effective. And partly why they're so effective is because they're so simple. They really, really are super simple, and very, very easy to implement. And that's what I want. I want to turn up, and I want the hard work to already be done before I actually start trading. I want the hard work to be the developing the system, which I've got. And then it's just purely a case of me being focused enough and clear-minded enough to actually just execute that strategy. So yeah, because very, very simple today. We had a big area of consolidation. We got the breakout. We came back up. We rejected it, and then we moved down. And then this is where I make my money, is when the market's in a period of imbalance. Here it's balanced. It's within the overnight range. It's within the previous day's range. It's just moving sideways. Boom, all of a sudden the market's out of balance, trying to find new fair value. And then we can trade that retest. So yeah, hopefully that's just what we're going to continue with. I really don't want to I really need to not keep chopping and changing. all this work I'm doing, it's to build clarity. It's not to try and overcomplicate. There's a fine line between developing something and learning something that's going to give you more clarity and help you simplify, versus learning something that's just going to throw doubt and extra decisions into the mix. So yeah. In terms of going forward with the streaming, I think, well, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do going forward. I did quite enjoy trading this morning, not needing to try and talk through what I was doing, but at the same time, it's not like I don't enjoy doing the streaming. So we'll see. I think I'll probably just spend the rest of the week doing it the way I've done it today, and then I'll make a decision going into next week. But yeah, it was a decent morning. On our FTMO challenge, we're still in the red in terms of our gross losses are greater than our net profits, which is, so even though I'm profitable, I'm technically heading to fail the challenge. It's a tough challenge. It's the gross losses that makes it so hard, because you really can't, I've worked out that with a 1-to-1 risk reward, which is essentially what I have, generally speaking, I need a win rate of at least 70% to pass this challenge, at the very least, which is a very high win rate. And there'll be times where the market's going to give me a 70% win rate. Like, last October, November, I had at least a 70% win rate. But, I could have a 65% win rate, still be very profitable over time, but that actually would be enough to pass this challenge. There is another prop firm, which is another very popular one. It's the most trusted on Trustpilot. They don't use gross losses. They just have a net loss and a net profit. So it's minus 6% maximum net drawdown with a 10% target. And it's only a one-step for funding as well, whereas this is a two-step. So this is a 15% target, whereas this other prop firm's only 10% to get the same size account, and it's the same price. So, I'm now really just seeing this current challenge as a learning opportunity and a chance to practice getting used to the platform of MT5. And if I pass this challenge, great, fantastic. But if I don't, then I will probably switch to the other firm, which is just an easier challenge, and go from there. But, I have no doubt my system is still profitable, just like it was before Christmas. It's just making it work for this challenge, or for a challenge, and it's making it work, or just avoiding it completely when the market isn't doing what I need it to do. And that's I'm hoping where the volume profile comes in. But at the moment, the market's moving. There's plenty of volatility, so hopefully it will be a good Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So yeah, cool. I'm going to call it there, and I will